Okay.
Hey Robin. So RC and I are gonna try to show you a little bit of what I think's happening for you. I'm assuming that Riley's a lot bigger than you. He looks like he's pretty big and you're pretty small, and that would make a little bit of difference. But this is about the biggest horse I have, and um, so what I think is probably happening is you're here and you're trying to lunge, right? And you keep on trying to get behind him to send him, and he does this probably because you're trying to get back here to send him, right? And so you can see this horse does the same thing too to me. And then you get frustrated and flap around and stuff. So what I want you to do, I want you to get out of the lunge line and go back to a 12-foot lead rope. And I want you to start understanding a couple of concepts that are going to help you. I kind of have an issue with lunging because just chasing a horse forward doesn't give them really any idea of where they need to be. You have to be able to give them a ton of different boundaries, not just a boundary as far as just pushing them forward. You could do that if you were in the round pen. So where I usually start is I ask my horses, I always give direction where they're going because this is going to translate over to them being ridden. So I don't ever try to send them by chasing them forward like this because this is me not telling them where to go. I mean, really, if he was doing what I was asking him to, he would be doing just this because I'm only putting pressure on his hip. So if I want him to go forward, I need to give him direction and send him at the same time. So here, the bubble that I was talking about, if right now you can imagine between me and him that there is a big round bubble, and if I push this bubble, I can push him out, okay? So this is a lot more sensitive horse, and probably Riley has gotten really numb to you. But basically you can see I can push this horse sideways with my bubble, right? So the difference is if I go, this horse is pretty sensitive, but say I stand here and I let him come into my bubble and push me, or I let him close the bubble. When I put pressure on this bubble, he should always move back, and that has to do with like how I'm moving towards him. Now if I go like this, but I don't make him move, do you see the difference between this and he doesn't have to do anything, and this? That's my intention moving him somewhere, okay? So that's a big difference in how your movement happens. You're probably doing this kind of stuff, that's no push. So this is really important. The other place that I want you to start the most, and the easiest place to start this is to give him direction and send him as he crosses his shoulders over. So I'm going to give direction here with my rein, which means my hand's like this over the rope, and I'm gonna send him out that way. As I do that, I'm gonna apply pressure to his shoulder there. One of the mistakes that people make are when they go and change, they'll go like this, they'll give direction, and then they'll drop their pressure, come around over here, and try to push him, and that's lost pressure. Once I start to do something with a horse, I can't change my initial cue. So if I go like this and send him, I have to keep my initial cue there as I escalate pressure, okay? So I want to be able to control his shoulders just like that. So one of the things you can see is as I push him out and get him out there, I'm going to let the rein just go through my hand. So now I'm not just behind the drive line, like if there's just this invisible line right here and I'm stepping behind it. There's a whole pie piece here that has a bubble at the end of it. So even from here, I want to be able to control him. Problem is when you get him out on a lunge line, you get him so far away from you that you can't control. Your bubble has a bigger distance. Now there's multiple boundaries here. It's not just a boundary of me pushing him out. There's also a boundary of him staying in. I don't want him to go further than the rope. So my issue with lunging is that people disconnect from their horse when they do it. So what I want you to do with him today is I want you to get where you can just make him step like this. Now what's probably going to happen is, and this horse isn't going to let me do it to him because he's already been handled this way and he's more of a get away from you kind of horse, is probably when you go up here to send him, he's just going to stand there. And you could get up here and he's not going to go anywhere at first. I want you to still be able to give your hands like this, but I want you to be big up here, okay? Even up I mean, if you have to make contact with him, you can make contact with him with your hands. You have to show him, and I'm not going to do it to this horse because he's being really good. But as you go up to him like this to shove him, if he doesn't go, you can even do this and slap him like that with like on his shoulder and even on his neck if you need to. And do that, keep applying pressure until he goes and releases from you. When he releases from you, make sure you let the rope kind of slide through your hand and let him get out there. But it's not just pressure behind his drive point, you have to push him out as well. So, you know, here's your bubble that you're pushing, and I'm pushing right kind of, you know, right here. And this horse is really good because you can kind of see it with him. But this is something I do a ton of. I don't do a lot of other groundwork with my horses besides kind of handling them and stuff. But see, he has a really clear idea. This is something I can control. When I go to ride him, he's learning to follow direction. I'm teaching him about pressure and release. I'm teaching him about boundaries. Right now, I'm the one who's controlling his feet. When my feet and body move towards him, his feet move away from me. And that means that he's, you know, I'm the leader in this situation. He's also not so scared of me though that he's pulling away and getting out of my hands. He's not scared. He's just respectful of my space and my whole body. Anytime I put a body part towards him, he can move away. So, I mean, that's a really important part. And probably what's happening with Riley is he just doesn't believe you. There's a number of things that, like, you know, my guess is you kind of go up to him or you get frustrated or do whatever. Once you start a cue, if you start towards him, you don't stop until he moves. And I don't care if you've got a, you know, what I see happen a lot though is like people will go to use a whip or use something and they're not real handy with it. So what happens is they go to swinging it around and they disconnect from their initial cue because they're trying to like flail with their arms or hands or whatever at the end of the rope. So until you can get good at using your rope, you need to kind of just use your hands and your body, and if you have to, you know, add a kiss to it or anything like that, and get him to move away from you. You know, move into his space and get him to move away from you. And not just forward, laterally too, away from your pressure. That would be really good. So try to do this, video it, and send it back to me and we'll see how it goes. Thanks.